ready to start, and we have Aiden Wise in the start from Haverhill. Aiden Wise is now on course up top. In the start is Tyler Shabanian from Newburyport. Time for Aiden Wise, 23.94. He's our first senior down the hill today. Tyler Shabanian now on course. Sanjay Kim from Andover in the start. Sanjay Kim now on course. Time for Tyler, 23.33. Bodie DeVellian from Masco in the start. Time for Sanjay Kim, 21.81. In the start is Ryan Reck from Austin Prep. Time for Bodie, 23.14. Will VW from North Andover is in the start. Time for Ryan Reck, 25.89. Another senior. Evan Fisicelli on course up top from St. John's Prep. Time for Will VW, 22.22. Cameron Light from Manchester, Essex is in the start. Time for Evan Fisicelli, another senior, 21.09. Henry Hartford on course from Haverhill up top. Time for Cameron Light, 23.66. Andrew Long from Newburyport in the start. Cameron Light is another senior. Time for Henry Hartford, 21.32. Teddy Hutchins in the start from Andover. Time for Andrew Long, 24.48. Owen Palmer from Masconomet in the start. Time for Owen Palmer, 21.78. Jacob Coons in the start from Austin Prep. Colby Muse from North Andover is in the start. Time for Jacob Coons, another senior, 26.61. Owen Gant from St. John's Prep on course up top. Time for Colby Muse, 22.84. Owen Bappy from Manchester, Essex in the start. Time for Owen Gant, 21.04. Another senior. Paul Parachojak from Haverhill's in the start. Time for Owen Bappy, 25.52. Tommy Lynch in the start for Newburyport. Owen Bappy is another senior, along with Owen Gant. And another senior, Paul Parachojak from Haverhill's time is 22.42. Ryan Swenson from Andover in the start. Time for Tommy Lynch, 22.75. Will Karen in the start for Masco. Time for Ryan Swenson, 22.27. Drew Nadrozik from Austin Prep is in the start. Time for Will Karen, 22.10. Ollie Litzner from North Andover in the start. Will Karen is a senior. Time for Drew Nadrozik, 25.21, another senior. Tim Harmon from St. John's Prep is on course, up top. Time for Ollie Litzner, another senior, 22.32. Tristan Rogers from Manchester in the start. Time for Tim Harmon, 20.17. Almost broke it, Tim. Almost broke 20. That's a senior for you. Tristan Rogers from Manchester on course. Adam Payne from Haverhill in the start. Time for Tristan Rogers, another senior from Manchester, 30.09. Max Reams on course up top from Andover. Time for Adam Payne, 20.10. Another one close to breaking 20. And another senior. Great run. Max Reams on course from Andover. Andrew Mitchell from Masconomet in the start. Time for Max Reams, 23.42, another senior. Andrew Mitchell on course. Dante Filodoro from Austin Prep is in the start. Time for Andrew Mitchell, 22.03. Derek Monahan from North Andover in the start. Time for Dante, 23.36, a senior from Austin Prep. Cole Hosmer from St. John's on course up top. Time for Derek Monahan, 22.04, another senior from North Andover. Peter Shaw on course from Manchester. Time for Cole Hosmer, 20.75. Alex Zizza from Haverhill in the start. Time for Peter Shaw, 31.91. Nolan Smith from Newburyport in the start. Time for Alex, 25.00. Quentin Cario from Andover in the start. Time for Nolan Smith, 24.57. Wills the Magny from Masco is in the start. Time for Quinton, 23.46. David Morrow from Austin in the start. Time for Wills the Magny, 22.29, another senior from Masco. Ryan Radowski from North Andover is in the start. Time for David Morrow, 24.62, a senior from Austin Prep. Time for Ryan Radowski, 21.81, a senior from North Andover. Josh Harmon now on course from St. John's Prep. Time for Josh, 20.64, 20.64. Finnegan Straub from Manchester on course. Ryan Began from Haverhill in the start. Ryan Radowski was a senior from North Andover. I think I might have missed that. Time for Finnegan, 31.7. Ryan Began on course and Caleb Bradshaw in the start for Newburyport. Time for Ryan, 26.94. Gardner Porter in the start for Andover. Time for Caleb, 23.48. Anthony Stevens from Masconomet in the start. Time for Gardner Porter, 22.90. Joey Zuccola from Austin is in the start. Time for Anthony, 24.80. Zach Golden from North Andover on course up top. Time for Joey, 32.52. Joey Zuccolo is a senior from Austin. Rocco Mascarelli from St. John's Prep on course up top. Time for Zach Goldman, 22.30. Time for Rocco Mascarelli, 21.83. Okay, yeah, just gotta go slower. All right, I can't read it. All right, I'm sorry. Time for Sam Wright, 27.70. Sawyer Sperry from Newburyport on course. Rocco Mascarelli was a senior from St. John's Prep. Ian Cox is in the start from Andover. Time for Sawyer Sperry, 24.72. In the start is Ian Cox from Andover. Ian Cox now on course up top, and Lars Kovamies from Masco is in the start. Time for Ian Cox, 24.91, a senior from Andover. Dario Filodoro on course up top from Austin. Time for Lars, 22.34. Luke Ramos from North Andover in the start. Time for Dario, 21.66. Henry Coop from St. John's Prep is in the start. Time for Luke Ramos, 21.65. David Yang from Haverhill is in the start. for Henry, 20.78. 20.78. David Yang from Havel on course. Beckett Saba from Newburyport in the start. Time for David Yang, 26.06. Kyron Ma from Andover in the start. Time for Beckett, 25.61. Ethan Daly from Masco is in the start. Time for Kyron Marr, 23.31, a senior from Andover. Luke Bartley from Austin is in the start. Time for Ethan Daly, 23.24. Will Hennessy from North Andover is in the start. Time for Luke Bartley, 22.90. Sam Charette from St. John's is in the start. Time for Will Hennessy, 23.25. Austin Yim from Newburyport is in the start. Time for Sam Charette, 21.32. Peter Shaw from Andover is in the start. Time for Austin, 28.20. Elias Cantor from Masco is in the start. Time for Peter Shaw, 25.38. Another senior from Andover. Nate Jaffe from Austin is in the start. Time for Elias, 23.63. Ibrahim Haroon from North Andover is in the start. Time for Nate, 26.45. Peyton McKee from St. John's Prep is in the start. Time for Peyton McKee, 21.53, a senior from St. John's Prep. Ibrahim Haroon almost finished right in front of him. He was a senior from North Andover. Johnny Nyes from Andover on course up top.
You have Masco 10. Okay.
Colin Dillon from Masconomet is in the start.
I have 10 Masco. And then you have Austin 10.
Time for John Nyes, 23.53. Narek Manassian from Austin is in the start. Time for Colin Dillon, 24.32. Kevin Packett from North Andover is in the start. Time for Narrig, 26.00. Peyton McKee was a senior from St. John's Prep. Not sure I mentioned that. Kevin Packett now on course. Aiden Rogers from St. John's Prep is in the start. Time for Kevin Packett, 24.94, a senior from North Andover. Caden Schrauger from Newburyport is in the start. Time for Caden, 22.28. I'm sorry, time for Aiden Rogers, 22.28. Caden Schrauger is on course from Newburyport. Noah Chantabon from Andover is in the start. Time for Caden, 29.44. Connor Brown from Masconomet is in the start. Time for Noah, 25.21. George Mamakos from Austin Prep is in the start. Time for Connor Brown, 24.32, a senior from Masconomet. Will Slayton from North Andover is in the start. Time for George, 26.03. Nick Marino from St. John's is in the start. Time for Will, 24.08. Henry Aiello from Newburyport in the start. Time for Nick Marino, 22.22. Alexander Riley from Andover in the start. Time for Henry, 34.87. Liam Dean from Austin Prep in the start. Time for Alexander Riley, 25.45. 25.45. In the start is Chris Bodnar from North Andover. Time for Liam, 30.26. Andrea Kaplau from St. John's is in the start. Time for Chris Bodnar, 25.12. Nate Flagg in the start for Andover. Time for Andrea Kaplau, 22.94. Another senior from St. John's Prep. Chris was a senior from North Andover. Matt Aronson from Masconomet in the start. Time for Nate, 25.68. Dylan Patel from Austin in the start.
10 off.
Time for Matt Aronson, 25.74. Another senior from Masconomet. Will Arms from North Andover's in the start.
10 off, Andover. Yeah, you take off 13.
Time for Dylan, 29.64. Alex Flynn from St. John's is in the start. Time for Will, 25.29. Patrick Alardi from Andover in the start. Time for Alex Flynn, 22.87. Another senior from St. John's Prep. Calvin Tragathon from Masconomet in the start. Time for Patrick, 25.72. Danny Murphy from Austin in the start. One's going up a Masco 14 and Austin 14. 414 and 514. Calvin Tragathon from Masconomet, Danny Murphy from Austin Prep. Please go to the top for reruns. Calvin Tragathon from Masconomet, Danny Murphy from Austin Prep. Please go to the top for reruns. Jack Bowden from St. John's Prep, now on course up top. Time for Jack, 22.46. Jack Bowden is a senior at St. John's Prep. Teddy Pierney in the start for Andover. Teddy's now on course, and John McQuarrie from Masco is in the start. Time for Teddy, 24.95. Ryan Sullivan in the start for Austin Prep. Time for John, 26.67. Ben Polonsky from North Andover is in the start. Time for Ryan, 30.76. Matt Vigno from St. John's Prep is in the start. Time for Ben Polonsky, 26.13. Another senior from North Andover. On course is Matt Vigno from St. John's Prep. Time for Matt Vigno, 21.31. Another senior from St. John's Prep. A senior who couldn't race today from Masconomet is Colin Bakunis. We're just waiting for the two reruns to finish the varsity race. In the start right now is Calvin Tragathon from Masconomet.
That'd be Matt before this, right? That's the third. Wait. I thought we had time for that. I don't think that was possible. Just keep pausing.
Should be Calvin Tragathon from Masconomet.
What's his name? Yeah, no, that's what gave me. But he's in 15 beds. Sorry, that's not that sorry. Oh, so he's at 14, so it's never any argument. Okay, alright.
Calvin's now on course.
Alright, send him.
Time for Calvin, 24.48. Danny Murphy now on course from Austin.
Okay, so we got time for him too, so I believe that's the end of the race. That's all the races, right?
Time for Danny, 27.68. That concludes the varsity race. JV race will start in about 5 minutes. Those lessons will be starting in 5 minutes. That's all they're signed up for. 4:30 p.m. snowboard lessons. Those lessons will be starting in 5 minutes. That's all lessons being hearing.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
JV race is about to begin. Elliot McQuaid from Andover is in the start.
Okay, you got hand number 1. Alright, hand number 1. You got pass number 1.
Elliot's now on course up top. Aiden Oasis from Asconomet is in the start. Time for Elliot, 23.98. Aiden on course. Josh Shakiro from Austin in the start.
So 1 kid plus the game is the appropriate time, correct? Like it did affect this kid, it's on the course time, right? No, we're good, we're good.
Time for Aiden, 23.81.
Hold on, give me 1 second. Alright, stand up. Did he go? Not that it didn't go up. It's not blocked. Oh, you gotta fully deploy it back. Use both hands and pull it hard. It's gonna like click in like, well not in, but like out towards so it's blocking the most of the lane as possible. So it's sticky.
Time for Josh Zucchero, 43.74. Avery Tibbetts is in the start for North Andover.
Alright, that was all. You guys know it's animal one, right? Who do you have up there?
All those signed up for 4:30 snowboard lessons. Those lessons are starting right now at the left meeting area. That's all those signed up for 4:30 p.m. snowboard lessons. Those lessons are starting right now at the left meeting area.
Sam Tucker from St. John's is in the start.
Give me a decimal one. Okay.
Time for Avery, 25.62. Owen McLean now in the start for Manchester. Time for Sam, 22.60. Kyle Haskell in the start for Andover. Time for Owen McLean, 21.53. Dayton Cox from Masco is in the start.
You get Austin too?
Time for Kyle, 25.15. Sean Murphy from Austin in the start. Time for Baden, 27.56. Austin Banbury in the start for North Andover.
Okay, now you can send Austin. Alright, you take those two. Alright, Austin.
Time for Sean Murphy, 31.18. Tyler Schwam from St. John's Prep is in the start. Time for Austin, 26.55. Gray West from Manchester in the start. Time for Tyler, 23.71. Ty Cox in the start for Andover. Time for Gray West, 24.87. Evan Zeltzer from Masco in the start. Time for Ty Cox, 26.69. Nick Capone from Austin in the start. Time for Evan, 25.67. Aiden Banbury in the start for North Andover.
Go ahead, set North Andover, please. Alright, you take down three. Okay.
Time for Nick, 35.70. Josh Atkinson up in the start for St. John's. Time for Aiden, 26.85. Ernest Taylor from Manchester in the start. Time for Josh Atkinson, 23.96. Another senior from St. John's. Declan Mackall from Andover in the start. Time for Ernest Taylor, 26.78. Jonas Kovamies from Masco in the start. Time for Declan, 25.72. James Graham in the start for Austin. Time for Jonas, 28.77. Carson Wong from North Andover in the start. Time for James Graham, 40.84. Andrew Scorzoni from St. John's in the start. Time for Carson, 28.94. Tucker Williams from Manchester in the start. Time for Andrew, 25.05. Ryan DeBenedictis from Andover in the start. Time for Tucker, 25.90. Zach Richard in the start for Masco. Time for Ryan, 28.29. Luke Gurney in the start for North Andover. Time for Zach, 24.05. Luke Bannerman from St. John's Prep is in the start now. You got that Manchester 5. Time for Luke, 30.41. William Cannell from Manchester, Essex in the start.
Manchester. Oh, wait, hold on, stop. I know, it's my...
Time for St. John's, 24.98. Luke Bannerman from St. John's, 24.98. Time for William Connell, 26.04. Matthew Weber from Andover in the start. Owen Riley in the start for Masco. Time for Matthew Weber, 26.66. Thomas Judson from North Andover in the start. Time for Owen Riley, 27.20. Adam Savoy from St. John's in the start. Time for Thomas, 30.10. Andrew Cahill from Manchester Essex in the start.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Time for Adam Savoy, 30.09. Ryan Kane from Andover in the start. Time for Andrew, 32.43. Leo Catulas from Masco in the start. Time for Ryan Kane, 29.42. Artem Liganov from North Andover in the start.
Okay, you take down 7.
Time for Leo, 26.76. Nolan Chanda from St. John's Prep in the start.
You got Masco 8.
Time for Artem, 29.93. Quinn Dexter from Masco in the start. Time for Nolan Chanda, 25.34. Another senior from St. John's Prep. Tanner Ciano from St. John's Prep in the start.
Okay, you have to get number 9.
Time for Quinn Dexter, 31.90. Malachi Breedy from Andover in the start. Time for Tanner, 26.32. Mike Mahalchik from Masconomet in the start. Time for Malachi, 28.85. Andrew Cheevers from St. John's in the start. Time for Mike, 29.52. Ruiz Boylan from Andover in the start. Time for Andrew, 29.11. Andrew Cheevers is another senior from St. John's Prep. Ronan Mullen from St. John's in the start. Time for Naoise, 28.01. Charles Antonakis from Masco in the start. Time for Ronan, 25.81. Grant Drinkwater in the start for St. John's. Time for Charles Antonakis, 29.25. Armand Chowdhury from Andover in the start. Time for Grant Drinkwater, 28.50. Charlie Pasanko from Masco in the start. Time for Armand, 35.25. Phil Murray from St. John's in the start. Time for Charlie Pasanka, 33.00. Rowan Norton from Andover in the start. Time for Phil Murray, 27.63. Lucas Massaro from St. John's in the start. Time for Rowan, 29.11. Nils Everest from St. John's Prep is in the start. Time for Lucas, 31.20. Tucker Dunnigan from St. John's is in the start. Time for Nils, 25.79.
Okay, very good. We got
Time for Tucker Dunnigan, 30.17. That concludes the junior varsity race. Thank you everyone for coming. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Favorite manager? Everybody says that. Everybody says Coach Torrey. Him or actually, when I was growing up in New York, Billy Mack. No, just for the New York atmosphere and that type of thing. Yeah. Because it was always the T-shirts, Billy's back. Billy's back again. I never liked Martin. No, I didn't.
Thank you so much.